when we come to Zephaniah, what we see is kind of what we'd expect to see with one of the prophets. First 90% of Zephaniah is about doom and gloom and destruction, and its warnings about it. It's warnings not only for Israel or Judah, but for the surrounding nations. Near the end, though, it takes a positive turn. And it mentions here the daughter of Jerusalem, which is prophet speak for those that are following God's ways. It's a message of hope for them, and for us, that message is through Christ. I want to read from Zephaniah. I want to read where that twist takes place. Chapter 3, I'm going to read verses 14 and 15. Sing, O daughter of Zion. Shout aloud, O Israel. Be glad and rejoice with all your heart, O daughter of Jerusalem. The Lord has taken away your punishment. He has turned back your enemy. The Lord, the King of Israel, is with you. Never again will you fear any harm. The message is for them, and it carries forward to us today. Be glad, rejoice with all your heart. Why? Because the Lord has taken away your punishment. In Israel's case, the punishment was the destruction that was coming because they had turned away from God's ways. They had turned away from God's word and were following the nations around them. They were bowing down to the other gods' nations. And because of that, destruction was coming. It's a pattern we see again and again in the Old Testament. Back on Mount Sinai, they made the golden calf to bow down to. The Judges is about Israel turning away and God calling them back. And isn't that what we see in the prophets? Prophet after prophet come and try to call them back. For us today, it's the same. We need to rejoice. We need to be glad because the punishment is taken away. Not the conquering nations that are going to come and overthrow our church building or our city, but the eternal consequences because we've bowed down to the starry host. Starry host. That's what they were doing. They were going up to the rooftop, be closer to the heavens, and they were bowing down. They had accepted the ways of the land they lived in. They were trusting in the things the people in their land trusted in. The world was more important to them than God. They had put the world and its things in before God, in their time, in their surface, and in their sacrifices. And if you think about it, aren't we the same at times? Well, we don't go up on the roof and bow down to any starry host, but don't we give up for things in this world? Don't we sacrifice to be a part of things or to participate in things? And that bowing down, well, I don't know if we physically bow down, but it's what Zephaniah talks about. We participate. We get involved more in the world than in God's things. But there's hope. There's forgiveness. And for us, it's through Christ. And I love the last part of what Zephaniah says. It's in the first part of the last verse here. It says in verse 20, "At that time I will gather you. At that time I will bring you home. I will give you honor and praise." I like that. At that time, I will bring you home despite our shortcomings, despite our failures to do what God calls us to do. God is there calling us home, calling us to Christ, calling us through Christ to be with Him in heaven. One day we will go to our heavenly home, even though we have failed on this earth. Give your heart to God. Know that we're going home one day. Rejoice. Be glad.